There are a lot more Black women who are interested in white men that care to admit, in the same way that they say that, oh, Black men just love white women. Black women love white men too. And I say this from experience. Me personally, I've only dated 2, maybe 3 white dudes. But whenever I did date them, Black women were on their necks constantly. Like the first time I got pregnant and got married, actually, my first marriage was to a white dude. And everything was fine at first, but he was very mature. And we split up not too long after. But one of my best friends that I met in the military, she wasn't an actual military member. She was just a wife of a military member. And she was mad cool, dark-skinned woman, beautiful family. And she slept with my ex-husband at the time, my husband at the time. And she had 3 kids and was married to a Black dude. I thought that they were happy. And she was like, I would never date a white dude. Because we had talks about, how could I be with a white dude? Da, da, da. And I was just like, it is what it is. Like, shit happens. But she slept with him. Swearing up and down that she don't fuck with white dudes, but she slept with him. Now, on top of that, I had a cousin and a sister that also slept with him. And these are the ones that would say the C word. They were extra pro-Black. So when we talk about like, oh, I would never, it just takes the right one. Just don't let them fucking fool you. They're definitely going, especially like, you don't have to be pro-Black if you're already Black. What are you pro about? Just be yourself. The same people that are extra pro-Black don't give a fuck about colorism or featureism. Like they never mention that shit, but they always, I only date Black. But then they'll get with someone light skinned. Me personally, I don't really fuck with light skins. I would rather fuck with a white dude before I fuck with a light skin. I don't even have light skinned friends. Like they would have to be extremely vetted and be an exception to the rule, like super dope ass people if I'm gonna be friends with any type of light skin. And that's just me personally. I prefer to be surrounded by dark skinned people and have a dark skinned dude, but it is what it is, For whatever reason, we got all kind of issues within our community, so we just can't seem to come together. Even though it's pretty clear, like if you prefer light skin, it's because you potentially don't want your kids, if you do have them, to come out dark, because you don't want them to experience the same thing you've experienced. We're adults, we can talk about it, but no one wants to talk about it. Everyone just wants to say pro-Black, Black, but not mention that people are treated differently depending on what shade of Black that they are. But okay. But I just find it ironic because I was never the type to call white people the C word or anything like that. I really didn't care too much for them. Like I said, I wasn't in proximity to them at all. But for the ones who are like extra pro-Black, they are the ones that are definitely going. It always makes me laugh because people are like, well, just because they light skinned doesn't mean that the cops will treat them or white people treat them any differently. Yes, they do. I don't know why y'all act like that's not a thing. Why do you think colorism matters? It's because white people treat you differently based on your skin tone. Like, be so fucking for real. They even got studies to show that it's more likely you'll get a harsher sentence the darker that you are as opposed to the lighter that you are. And I'm not trying to say that no light-skinned people have gotten harsh sentences. I'm just saying it's more likely if you're dark, you're going to get the full Monty. And that goes for everything: job environments, traffic stops, you name it. Club entrances, you name it. If you're lighter, you're gonna get treated differently. I know. Oh my God, it's so hard for you to have such an easy life. But there's just too many light skins that embrace colorism for me to ever be around them. So no, thank you. And I know that you're like, well, white people are racist. Not all white people are racist, but all light skins are usually colorist. So it is what it is. Me personally, if I'm gonna face any type of discrimination, it would make more sense if I'm in a white environment. It makes absolutely no sense if I'm in a Black environment and I'm still getting treated differently. But in the same way that dark-skinned people want to lighten up their legacy, light-skinned people want to darken up theirs. They just don't want you to choose a dark-skinned woman. That's the difference. They want you to choose them, but they still want to be pro-Black. They just don't want any Black dark-skinned women involved in that. God forbid she has any type of dramatic features. Oh my God, she's not even that pretty to you. That's why it's not for you. But a lot of y'all don't get it yet. It's okay.
So I wanted to touch upon this video. So y'all know I've been consistently covering off swirlers, divestors, and more recently I've been looking at the trend of reformed swirlers or ex-swirlers, or basically Black women who were in interracial relationships or marriages and that have now turned pro-Black. So here is another content creator who is basically, going from the Swirl to pro-Black pipeline, and she's essentially talking about the things that she actually noticed in her journey of awakening and starting to really understand the value of her darkness, her Blackness, right? Now, the first thing I found super interesting was her comment on not believing anything Black women actually say. And if you guys are familiar with the dating divide, I covered off this book maybe a year or two ago. And in that survey, one of the things that they said was that women of color, specifically Black women, they would oftentimes verbally say they were not into white men, but that when it came to what these ladies were doing anonymously, the statistics and the trends were a lot different than what the ladies were actually saying. And so when she said this, I thought immediately to that portion of the book. Interesting to see this play out even in her own experience. She was surrounded by women who were lying in her face, it sounded like, about their preference, and then going sleeping with her husband. And I don't know if this is why they divorced. Like, was he sleeping with these black women when they were married or divorced? I don't know. Either way, it just sounds like a mess. Like, it definitely broke girl code. You're not supposed to be sleeping with your friends or your sisters or your besties husband or even ex. Like, that's just a conflict of interest. So now, secondly, what I found super interesting was the ire that she had towards light-skinned people. So she felt comfortable marrying a white person and even said in the video that not all white people are racist, but somehow all light-skinned people are colorist and don't like dark-skinned people. And then she pretty much goes on a rant and talks about how they are colorist and they have all these featurist, texturist, and they have all of these qualifications for dark-skinned people. And listen, let's just be clear. We understand that happens. That is the result of colonization to a certain extent. But I'm always going to challenge somebody who ascribes all of the guilt and all of the issues with colorism to the victims of colorism, which is black people, instead of actually honestly looking at it and recognizing that the white people that she feels more comfortable being around are the ones who actually created the system. And so for me, I always wonder, like, obviously, when you hear this, ladies are talking from a purely emotional space. They're talking from the experiences that they had growing up. And I am not here to invalidate those experiences because they are real and valid to that particular woman. But I think sometimes the conclusions we can come to can be a little misguided. At the end of the day, when you live in a system where racism is still there, that's going to influence somebody's behavior. And I think for some black people, it's still more comfortable to inwardly bicker and fight and separate and divide than it is to actually unite with black folks and then look honestly at the environment that they feel really comfortable in, which is around white folks. And so I think that's what I found so interesting about her take on her feeling more comfortable with white folks versus light-skinned folks and having all of this ire and disdain for light-skinned people to the point where she don't even have light-skinned friends, but now she's more comfortable with white people. And I'm like, to me, if you really do care about colorism, features, and texturism, then you would have the same energy for white people that you would black people, right? Especially you would have more energy for white folks if you are that. They're the descendants of the people who created the system that you feel oppressed under. And then that leads me to another point. Why I don't really believe Black American women on their own have the ability to actually be revolutionary, or put another way, why I don't believe Black American women can really be pro-Black. They can't. Because what she's essentially talking about is nationalism. You know, all this colorist, texturist, and, you know, you're getting these harsher sentences because you're darker, or you're not getting the jobs, or you're not this, and that. What she's referring to are issues of nationalism. This is why people who believe in building Black institutions, Black businesses, Black schools, Black nations, the whole reason they believe in doing that is to mitigate this challenge. That's the whole point. So when I hear Black women complain about this, but their solution is to just not be around light-skinned people or to just go online and complain, but at the same time, they have a light-skinned child themselves or a biracial child themselves, I'm like, okay, I can understand that the emotions are real and valid, but it's not actually leading to anything that's going to bring the genuine institutional change that is needed in order to mitigate or completely eradicate those problems. And this is where men come in. This is why I don't believe a woman can even be pro-Black unless she's following a man. At this point, any pro-Black woman, any woman in America specifically who says, oh, I'm pro-Black, or I am about, you know, Black causes and believing in you know, building the Black community, my first question is, okay, well, who are you following? Who are you supporting? Who are you under? Like, because the nature of women is to seek to find comfort in the system. The challenge that Black women have is that they can't really find comfort in the system the way that white women can, because the system was not created for them. That is really the core at many of these complaints. And so the nature of women is to seek comfort in system, whereas the nature of men is to build systems. And unless there is that understanding, and I think women are actually collaborating or supporting men who are doing that, then it really does become a conversation that I think is legitimate and needs to happen, but it actually won't lead to any change, because you need men and you need to collaborate with men who are willing to build the reality that you want to feel comfortable in. Right. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, just even the fact that she ultimately was with a white man, created a light-skinned child, and has all this ire and all of this disdain for light-skinned people. I don't know the complexion of her child or children, but I also recognize this is partially why sometimes Black folks can also come off as confusing or be confused, because one instance there's colors and features of texturism, but then at the other instance, you're kind of basically recreating the problem that you want to be ended. And that's what I'm saying. Women in particular, we can be really inconsistent. And this is why I think understanding that men actually are really called to lead, and they should be respected, and they should actually be supported when they're trying to do that. These are the kinds of scenarios, and these are the kinds of, I think, actions that are actually quite natural for women, that show us that unless men get involved and unless women collaborate with men to create a better reality, then all this will be is just another internet conversation. But anyways, y'all, that's what I have. What do y'all think? Let me know down in the comment section. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.